video, I want to show you how to do the increases for a pie shawl between the sections when you're doubling the number of stitches. So here I've cast on 9 and I've knit 1 round. So that's what you do before the first increase round. And the increase rounds double the number of stitches, so you're going to do yarn over knit 1, yarn over knit 1, yarn over knit 1 all the way around, or you might do knit 1, yarn over knit 1, yarn over knit 1, yarn over all the way around. Does it make a difference? Only if the rings here, if the radius, the lines radiating out of the center need to line up with the lace patterns. Otherwise, it doesn't make a difference whether you do the yarn over first or the knit one first. Patterns will be written a certain way, but if you're making it up yourself, you can do whatever you want. I just want to show you how you do that with your left hand and your right hand, however you hold the yarn, because some people are confused what to do when you have to make a yarn over at the beginning or end of the needle. So on this needle, let's look at what happens if you have to do yarn over, knit 1 across. And this could be the same thing if you were doing it on 2 circulars, except you'd have 2 needles instead of 3. I have 3 because that's the way I like to work on double points. So before I work this first stitch, I need to make a yarn over. So when I hold the yarn in my left hand, I just catch it over the top of the right needle like that. I kind of scoop it up, and then I go ahead and make the stitches. 1, 2, 3. And actually, for the pie shawl, I would be doing a yarn over between every stitch. But there's other patterns where you have a yarn over at the beginning of the needle that you don't do it between every stitch. But for a pie shawl, you do. Now let me show you how you do that if you're holding the yarn in your right hand, because that can be a little bit harder to figure out. Again, you'll be working with either your double points like this or 2 circulars, and before I put the needle in to make that first stitch, I have to do that yarn over. I try to ignore the other needles. I'm working with 1 empty one and 1 with stitches on it with DP ends, and with 2 circulars you'd be working with both ends of the same needle, let the other circular hang there. But before I put that in, I have to do the yarn over. So how do I do that? I'm not as good knitting with my right hand, but I take the yarn and I just wrap it around the needle. And you see how it's going to make a loop there? Okay, now I'm going to make that first stitch. So now I'm going to go and throw it and make the stitch, and see how it's locked that yarn over in. So I have yarn over, knit 1. And then I would continue making regular yarn over between each stitch and finish the needle like that. Whoops, split the yarn. There we go. Let's see, you can see here that I'm not as good with my right hand, but I hope that that showed you, for those of you who knit that way, how to do it. Now let's just take a quick look at what you do when you have it the other way. If you're going to do knit 1 yarn over, knit 1 yarn over. Now the yarn over is easier to make because it's not at the beginning. However, you hold the yarn and needles, you knit 1, you make a yarn over, you knit 1, make a yarn over, knit 1, you make a yarn over. But now you have to switch needles, either to your other circular or the double points, and you want to make sure that this loop stays around the end of the needle when you switch to the new needle. So here I'll slide over, and I'm going to watch that. You could hold it with your right index finger, or you could just remember that you're supposed to have a yarn over at the end of that needle, and if you missed it, you can just go in and pick up the loop. But then when I start knitting on the next needle, I just knit, and see that's locked that yarn over into like a stitch on the end of the previous needle. So I hope you find that helpful for getting started. You can see how kind of fussy the beginning of a pie shawl is, but once you get a little further, it all holds itself together because you have enough stitches, and you only get about this far, and you're able to switch to a short circular needle. And as I said, some people prefer 2 circulars or even magic loop, and at least one of my cast on videos shows you how to get started that way, because a lot of us don't use double points anymore. I learned how to knit in the round before magic loop and 2 circular needles were popular techniques, so that gives you a hint about how old I am. Anyway, that's it. And I'll be back with more videos for you soon.